59 points. That's the gap separating George Russell from his teammate at Mercedes. But the most shocking figure isn't the point difference. The most shocking figure is that the driver dominating him has just turned 20. Kimi Antonelli is driving as if Mercedes had been built exclusively for him, while Russell is living through the worst season of his entire Formula One career. And what's happening behind the scenes at Brackley is even more serious than what you see on track. Because Russell's crisis isn't just sporting, it's mechanical, psychological, and political. And the signals coming from the paddock indicate that the Briton's future at the team could be far more uncertain than anyone expects. Mercedes is in total technical crisis with Russell's car. During qualifying for the Hungarian Grand Prix, a crack was detected in the Britain's engine after a sudden drop in water pressure during Q3. The consequence was devastating. Russell was forced to switch to the fourth and final power unit allowed by regulations for the entire 2026 season. This means one very simple and very serious thing. If the engine has to be replaced even once before the end of the year, Russell will receive a grid penalty that could compromise decisive races in the championship fight, and we're not talking about a hypothetical risk. The Mercedes boss has already publicly admitted this possibility is real. Now I want to know your opinion. Is this just behind-the-scenes pressure, or has Mercedes truly begun laying the groundwork for Russell's exit? Leave your analysis in the comments and subscribe to the channel, because the next moves could reveal much more than the team would like. Toto Wolff spoke after the race and his words reassured no one. The team principal admitted that the crack in the engine is quite large and that he doesn't yet know whether it will be possible to recover that power unit. He stated that the team will need to analyze the damage in detail before making any decision. But the most worrying part of his speech was something else. Wolff said clearly that if the engine can't be recovered, Mercedes will have to strategically choose which circuit to take the penalty at. This means that internally, the team is already considering the worst-case scenario. The possibility that Russell will have to start from the back of the grid at a Grand Prix in the second half of the season is no longer a remote hypothesis. It's a concrete possibility, but the engine problem is only the surface of a much deeper crisis. What's truly destroying Russell's season isn't the mechanics. It's his mind. And it's not just any commentators saying so, it's people who know Formula One from the inside. Rob Smedley, the former race engineer who worked with some of the best drivers in Formula One history, analyzed Russell's situation during an episode of the High Performance Racing podcast. And his diagnosis was brutal. According to Smedley, Russell is overthinking. He's analyzing every detail, every corner, every decision, instead of driving instinctively as he has always done in his best moments. And this excess of analysis is visibly slowing him down. Like this video if you want us to keep bringing you in-depth analysis like this, because what's emerging from the paddock in these hours is something that could completely change the balance of the World Championship. Smedley made a direct comparison between the two Mercedes drivers that is simply devastating for Russell. He said that Antonelli is in a state of flow. He gets into the car and drives without thinking, without forcing, without calculating. Everything happens naturally for the young Italian. Every overtake, every braking point, every tire management happens as an automatic process that requires no mental effort. On the other side, Russell is doing the exact opposite. He's analyzing everything so much that he's lost touch with his natural instinct. And when a Formula One driver loses his instinct, he loses any chance of competing at the highest level. The most significant thing Smedley said was a direct message to Russell. He stated that there is no doubt whatsoever about the Briton's ability to drive a Formula One car. It's not a matter of talent. Russell has the talent to fight for the World Championship. But lap time, points, and this World Championship don't depend on his driving ability. They depend on his ability to stop thinking and start feeling the car beneath him again. A message that weighs like a boulder on the Briton's morale. David Coulthard added another layer to this analysis that makes everything even more dramatic. The former driver said that Russell's bad luck this season has surpassed any movie script. He referenced the Rocky films, where the protagonist faces enormous difficulties before triumphing. But according to Coulthard, what Russell is experiencing goes beyond any work of fiction. The Briton won in Australia, dominated the sprint in China, and then everything collapsed in a sequence of events nobody could have imagined. Technical problems in China that compromised qualifying, a safety car arriving at the worst possible moment in Japan, multiple penalties in Monaco aggravated by a red flag, an engine that exploded while he was leading the race in Canada, power unit problems in Belgium, and finally the anti-stall system activating at the start in Hungary, eliminating him from contention before even the first corner. Coulthard used a tennis comparison that hits the mark. He said Russell is like a tennis player who receives an easy, high ball, a sure put away to win the point, but misses it because he starts thinking too much about the movement instead of executing it instinctively. Experience, which should be an advantage, is turning into an enormous burden. Antonelli has the advantage of youth. He doesn't yet know what he doesn't know, and this makes him free to take risks without fear. Russell knows every trap, every difficulty, every risk, and this awareness is mentally paralyzing him. Comment below if you think Russell can truly recover in the second half of the season, or if you believe Antonelli's dominance is now definitive, because opinions on this situation are completely divided in the world of Formula One. Mercedes officially says it believes in Russell's comeback. Deputy Team Principal Bradley Lord stated that the summer break represents the perfect opportunity for the Briton to take a step back and reassess everything. He said Russell knows he's not exactly where he'd want to be in the driver's standings, but that he remains in the championship fight. Lord added that he is truly confident that in the remaining 11 or 12 races, we will see the best George Russell return to competing at the highest levels. But there's a detail that makes these words less convincing than they seem. In the same statement, Lord also said that Mercedes wants to win both championships and that it will do so by putting both cars in the best possible positions in every single race. No reference to team orders. No indication that Russell will receive preferential treatment to close the gap. And with a 59-point deficit, the absence of team orders essentially means Mercedes is already treating Antonelli as the #1 driver in the fight for the world title. This is a signal that cannot be ignored. Meanwhile, Wolff revealed that the development strategy for the second half of the season will be completely different from what we've seen so far. Mercedes will not bring upgrades to every Grand Prix as it did in the past. The cost cap imposes precise choices about when and where to invest the remaining resources. Wolff said the team must be strategic in deciding when to introduce technical novelties, focusing exclusively on the circuits where they will have the greatest impact on the car's overall performance. He confirmed that Mercedes is in a good position budget-wise and that it intentionally concentrated greater investments in the second part of the championship to try to maintain the advantage over its rivals. This is an unprecedented situation in the recent history of Formula One. A driver with the experience and talent of George Russell being systematically beaten by a teammate who has just turned 20, while his car breaks down race after race and his mind betrays him in decisive moments. The cracked engine, the penalties looming, the unbearable psychological pressure, the merciless comparison with an Antonelli in a state of grace. Everything is converging into a critical moment that will define not just this season, but Russell's entire future in Formula One. The question the whole paddock is asking itself right now is simple but terrifying for Russell. Will he find the mental strength to turn things around in the last races of the season? Or will this be remembered as the season in which Mercedes found its new champion and quietly decided that George Russell is no longer part of the future project? Only time will give a definitive answer. See you in the next video.